Rob, of your...
A little too wide, isn't I can hit the note.
Nice.
Wow. Let me guess. Was that best of both worlds?
Yes, finally, right?
Oh, the best.
Dimitri's got the rockin' party lights, though. He's got the party
Oh
lights.
yeah, he's
I love that.
Absolutely.
They're-
Yeah, you're right. I think my camera is too wide.
You're in like wide view or something.
I'm like in wide.
It's fine. It looks spacious and casual. So it's good.
Okay.
literally see your whole house.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Looks like you're pitching a VC for money.
It's a
Well, I probably need to. I got to find a job or make a job, right? So
We need to bankroll our Windows Phone WTF Netflix special, you know.
yes. Hello, TV
Rob,
executives. Yeah.
honestly, Rob, you know all the BS. Just package it up and put it in front of a VC and get funding.
There you go.
Yes. It's that easy, huh?
It's that easy, apparently.
Any given Sunday.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I think about it. One advantage that you have is you actually understand like market context, business, and what it means to develop a product. I mean, I think that counts for a lot. Maybe you're underestimating yourself.
Did you think that VC care about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you an interesting VC anecdote. We were raising money for this startup we had called eColor, which was a Bay Area color correction startup. And I think we had done a pretty good Series A. Did a Series B, had these VCs from New York, big, I forgot the name of them, but they flew us to New York. We had dinner like in the kitchen of this fancy restaurant, like their private table. And they were totally like wooing us to like, you know, be in this Series B round. And they had no idea. They didn't know anything about color correction. They didn't care. They were like, you know, okay, you're working with Bloomingdale's, you're working with Brooks Brothers. That's fine. That's all we need to know. But it was like this whole thing where there's a whole trip to the East Coast and then the dinner and the wooing and whatever. They ended up, you know, then they took like a board seat but it was a real classic. Like it could have been an episode from Silicon Valley, you know, the whole scene. Anyway,
Wow. Color correction. There you
it
go.
was a big thing, man.
I would have done in my pitch video. I would have had that scene from Arthur, you know, like at Bergdorf Goodman, you know. Yes, I'll have like 12 of these assorted colors, shirts. So,
God.
Right.
oh my gosh.
So, hey, everyone, welcome to IoT Coffee Talk.
Yeah.
This is our 4th anniversary edition +1.
That's right.
In
Yeah.
other
The new
words,
era, the 4+ era.
yes,
That's
the
right.
day after. The day after, which I saw, I was like, I had it served on YouTube. You remember that movie?
The movie.
The day
Yes.
after? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big one. It was on TV or like regular TV, I think.
Scared the hell out of people on TV. Didn't it?
Yeah.
I think some people thought it was real, actually. Wasn't it?
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
War of the Worlds kind of thing.
1983. Yeah.
Wow.
Year that Van Halen's 1984 album came out, I think. Yeah.
Hey, that was before the internet. Nobody could go on
Yeah.
TikTok and
And
check on TikTok.
I can't remember if I told you. I listened to the audiobook called Nuclear War from Annie Jacobson just recently, which is mind-boggling, minute by minute, second by second almost,
Yeah.
of nuclear exchange. It's terrifying. And then I just noticed Lex Friedman's got her on his podcast. And so when I was out walking, I was listening to it. And so they were kind of going a deep dive. You know, and Lex is like, oh my God, I mean, I think everybody kind of knows in the back of their mind how horrific it is. But the level of detail in the interviews that she did with all these people going all the way back to the Manhattan Project, or just, it's really
Fascinating.
makes it more real. But you're right, that movie The Day After made it real for a whole lot of people.
Yeah, no, seriously. Another good one is War Games that I saw recently with Matthew Broderick
Yeah.
in the 80s. And that has like a good AI bent to it too, right? It's the Whopper.
Yeah.
Whopper.
Right.
The Whopper computer.
I think what we learned from that movie is don't let AI take control of your nuclear arsenal and have it make decisions.
In other words, don't hook it up to anything.
Yeah.
Which everyone is trying to do right now with these agents and whatever.
Don't hook AI up to anything important.
Yes.
I think that's what they
Well, and also, speaking of just hooking things up, just being connected is dangerous on some level, right? I posted something that everybody thought I was just being silly about. What happens if with a nuclear football, if the president is in an elevator in a building, because you think about connectivity, transmission, I'm using the nuclear football briefcase satchel to send these commands. But if I'm in an elevator, what if they don't go, or what?
I was this close to commenting that someone would take a screwdriver to the elevator and take the landline jack that's plugged into the service elevator.
MacGyver it. Yeah, MacGyver.
Yes, and plug it into the football.
That's what they're trained to do. That's what they're trained to do.
All we need is a dial tone. Dial tone for the win.
Yeah.
You guys be surprised to know that almost all the technology and the transmission and everything for that whole military command and control is analog.
Yeah.
Analog's making a big comeback.
Yeah.
Freaking Cylons, dude, Battlestar Galactica, that is exactly what they did. And people think that's weird, but you have to.
You have
Rob,
to.
you mean to tell me that copper is high reliability where you're just transmitting tiny packets?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Check.
No, it's going to boil down to you're going to do that Lord of the Rings stuff. Remember when, what's his name? I think it was not Frodo, the other Hobbit.
Bilbo?
One of the two naughty hobbits lights
Bilbo Baggins.
the flame of XYZ to signal to the Rohirrim and to go and come and, assemble and save them from Sauron's army. Yeah, that kind of, we're going to resort to that kind of stuff.
Wow. A lot of cultural references this morning. I guess.
And that's an important cultural reference in our actual real shared history of when they lit the fires across the mountaintops as a signal. Yeah. What a moment. I was like, oh God, I remember when that happened. Yeah. Our ancestors, when they had to do that, it was a big deal.
True story.
Talk about a big notification, right? When you see the peaks light up.
Yeah.
That is so much better than just a bunch of Slack channels.
Right. A little number count on your iPhone home screen. Beep.
Yeah. Right.
Same thing.
But it's not uncommon for us to call it, right? So this might be an eventuality. It might be an inevitability, actually. That's the creepy thing,
Well, who knows what version of civilization that we're in right now? And the reason for that, some of the stuff like in the nuclear war book and that Lex was talking with her about was the notion that some archaeologists. It actually reminds me, did you ever, what was it called? I forget. It was a short story. I don't know if it was Asimov or somebody else, but it was basically the notion where civilization kind of is rebooting about every 5,000 or however many years, 2,000 years. Basically, it's called Nightfall. That was the short story that you may have read, sci-fi. And basically, it's always daylight. There's 3 suns in the sky, and the whole civilization grows and advances, whatever. But then once every 2,000 years, all 3 suns set, and it's darkness for the first time, and no one knows what it is, and everyone goes insane and destroys civilization, burns it to the ground, and the next day, civilization starts over again. Mm-hmm. And so the discussion around just nuclear war is the possibility, that she talks to, obviously, the horror of it all. The whole exchange will probably be over in about 72 minutes. And so there's the fallout, there's nuclear winter, And we talked about nuclear winter. Carl Sagan was one of the people who wrote the paper on nuclear winter in 1980 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they even admitted back then we have crude computers doing this modeling. They've done the modeling today. Turns out it's actually worse than what they thought.
No. Great.
But the notion that all civilization could go away, nuclear winter could be 10 years of darkness and cold, and agriculture's gone, everything's gone, and then you start over. Like, who's left? There's no technology.
Rob,
what's that like?
Planet of the Apes, my friend.
should we take the psilocybin before or after reading the book?
Yeah.
What's your
Actually, I have an alternative book. It's called The History of Caddyshack. Also just as deep and profound, I think, as the one Rob was reading, but in a different cultural touchstone.
Cinderella boy, first time at Augusta.
Okay, so now you need to explain how IoT is going to save us. You can't just you can't bring up nuclear winter and war and devastation without talking about how IoT is going to.
But it basically started by saying it won't, because as soon as we have this kind of, the first ideas of digital twin, you can observe things. The second one is you can control them. And if you add AI on top of that. But actually, on the initial point I was saying is that the problem is that we think of the AI we have today, and you heard me saying that the AI we have today pretty much mimic the human. Maybe there's room for an AI that is actually much smarter and much wiser than the human at some point. And this one, I might want him in control of the nuclear arsenal.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one.
Why not? Why is the assumption that the AI should mimic the human one? Yeah, why is the assumption? It could be a different.
Okay. It's one good point. Like when Lex is talking to Annie and they talk about the book, the notion of all the hawks in the chain of command. The weirdest thing, and I don't want to get political here, but they talk about what the average voter doesn't think about is the most important thing the president potentially has to do, because it actually comes down to one person. And there's a 6-minute window. As soon as we detect launch, like if it's the Russians or North Koreans or whoever, they get to the president. They got 6 minutes to decide, am I going to do this or not? Or as Annie Jacobson says, they pull out the little laminated Denny's menu of targets and stuff like that. And the discussion was, the president you're voting for needs to be thoughtful, wise, really here, all there, cognitive, whatever kind of thing. Because it's something no one thinks about.
This is a dark episode. This is a dark episode of IoT Coffee Talk.
We're in fiction now, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's laminated. They got that.
What gets laminated, But it's interesting. All the interviews said most of the presidents don't even have any training or think about this at all. And so when it happens, the reality is Secret Service is going to be rushing the president, trying to get them safe somewhere, because obviously 1 megaton is heading towards DC. But at the same time, U.S. Stratcom in Nebraska, that guy's like, I need the codes from the president, and the problem is a lot of the people in that chain outside of the president, who's still a human being, a lot of them, you talk about dovish people versus hawkish people. Well, guess what? A lot of those people in the rest of the chain are like, let's get them. And so it's no question in their mind. And so it's really interesting.
But Rob, they'll be in a clubhouse call the whole time, and they can just pass each other the codes.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm in the bunker.
Yeah, it's going to be like the game and TV show.
I would like to share a quote. I am rewatching the docu series Chernobyl, written by amazing writing.
Really, really good.
That was really good.
That's like pure HBO right there.
Yes.
Pure HBO goodness. Yeah. Really
awesome. There's a quote by the character Boris Sherbina, and I will read it because I just watched it. This is relevant to the whole nuclear thing. And it says, quote, when it's your life and the lives of everyone you love, your moral conviction doesn't mean anything, end quote. So do we really want, so back to AI and the nuclear thing, what is its moral conviction? So,
but that's the point.
and that no, I'm saying, is that we really want it, because there is no moral conviction, and it's about protecting. Anyway, I'm trying to back up your argument.
Because human intelligence evolved, but we still have the core reptilian type of piece of our brain that is survival, because we exist because of survival in a world of natural selection. Do we have to inject that concept in AI? I'm not sure. And if we do not, maybe we'll have something better. But this is my frustration, has always been about artificial intelligence. We kind of think that the human intelligence is the kind of the secret thing that we need to reach. Maybe no. Maybe it's another form of intelligence that can teach us things. So
I think we all have examples of human intelligence that maybe is not something we want to emulate.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why my old philosophy about that, if you want, or observation, that as long as we use purely human mechanism to try to train those models, we're only going to get human things. We're not really wiser or smarter on you.
Common sense.
What?
Just don't try to teach them common sense. Just leave that out the window, because it's not common.
Well, common sense is actually a Pandora box, because it's actually related to moral principles or processes. That's
what I'm saying, right? I mean, as long as we don't try to teach it common sense, it'll be fine.
I thought it was based on physics, but okay,
But hold on. If we're going to talk about common sense and humans, I mean, guys, folks, we are putting a label on a gallon of bleach that says, "Do not drink this thing."
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to drink it.
Well,
Don't push the button, no?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You have to make a distinction between individual intelligence and then aggregate societal
Collective
intelligence. Yeah, collective intelligence. And I think
there's that whole humanity part in the book. There's the notion so many people are wiped out. So the Secretary of Defense is now the acting president. And of all people, when they're like, we need a decision now, we need the codes, let's do it. And of all people, he's like, wait a second. What for the good of humanity, maybe we should just absorb the impact and not retaliate. It's because the policy is automatic retaliation. It's not if, it's what targets.
Yeah.
And so there was that notion, because, as she says in the book, it wasn't until Reagan and Gorbachev got on stage together and both claimed, nuclear war is not winnable and it's insanity. Prior to that, all these generals and presidents believed you could win that war somehow. That you could fight an active nuclear war and somehow win. And finally, people are like, you can't win. It's genocide, automatic.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? No, okay. Sarcasm coming here, but someone had to do like the financial modeling behind, like there's an influence here of like, hey, if they're going to shoot their nukes, you want to shoot their nukes. And there's some guy with a spreadsheet. He's like, hey, if they fire all of them, we can re-up the order. So yes, we like that policy. And if somehow we survive it, I got a PO right here, baby. I got to refill all these nuclear warheads. And here we go. Bill's shaking his head, going like, damn it, David, you're right, but I don't want to talk about it. But it's true. Someone inserted financial modeling into this thing.
Yes, that's why we need the fifth element.
I'm sure a lot of people have.
But we need the fifth element. We need to find a fifth element very quickly.
Yes. Yeah. I did see a blurb.
Do you remember that? That's what Zorro was all about.
Yeah, I remember the fifth element. Absolutely.
Come on, Leonard. This is the easiest solution. We don't want to solve the problem, so we're going to rely on something that doesn't exist to give us the answer. So
sounds about right.
Well, I did see some blurb, like Kurt Vonnegut, I think, made some quote, we're smart enough to save ourselves, but it didn't make financial sense.
Well, there's an interesting thing you said here, Rob, as well. You're smart enough to save ourselves individually, probably. As a civilization, I don't think so. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, that's where
the primal instincts are still too much there. the primary mind
individual.
so much there. Individual.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, that's what kicks in after whatever handful of people are left after all the radiation's gone and the nuclear winter's gone. It's like every post-apocalyptic movie. Humans go down to their basest survival levels and do things that you wouldn't normally do in society, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like fight for the sake of what? That? You know? That future, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. But, you know, I mean, as Tay proved back, you know, Project Tay proved,
right.
We're pretty, you know, as a society, we can be pretty sick. And, you know, it begs the question, you know, you have a lot of these companies now talking about, now you can ground our AI search with the web or our search engine or whatever, or the internet. And it's like, is that supposed to make me more comfortable? And they characterize it as factual trust. They use these terms to characterize that. But can you trust the mean and the mode of like all the contradictions in society?
It's like swimming in a polluted river.
And yeah, I mean, it's so polluted and disgusting. I mean, it's like really bad data. Where's the filter? And then the question though is, what should that filter look like? And nobody has that.
Well, one of the challenges, I mean, you've heard about the challenges, and the larger and larger LLMs need more and more data to train on. There's not enough text, there's not enough video. And so, of course, when there's, you know, they're just going to grab whatever they can, good, bad, and ugly in terms of data to train things, because there's just not enough of it. And so then we end up with models with training that are, you know, it's trained on kind of garbagey stuff. Not all of it, but, you know, it's trending in that direction, because once you get to like 1 trillion, you know, data points, then where are you going to get the data to train it on? So.
Yeah. And you hear about data poisoning, you know, it's like,
it's even worse than that, because it's going to be becoming so difficult to distinguish the content that was truly created and the content that was already generated. So we're going to feed models with
trained on AI.
So he's going to circle down,
and that's why TinyML is so important. See,
we found a way. We brought it all the way back to TinyML.
No, seriously. I mean, but that's where I think the potential for safe uses of these generative AI tools can happen, right? In certain isolation and focus, these broader things. And so, you know, there really are actually 3 or 4 conversations about generative AI, right? We kind of generalized Gen AI in a broad way, but the threats, the benefits are really different at different tiers, right? I mean, I've seen some really useful generative AI functions, not applications, functions. But it happens all the time. It happens in isolation. It doesn't, I mean, this whole like 0 shot, 1 shot type stuff where it produces magic, I have not seen that.
Right.
I've seen a lot of hallucinations.
I think part of it too is we talked about the training. There's no transparency on the training data. Like, you know, it's every food item you get at Safeway, it's got an ingredients list, you know, kind of basically what's in there. There's no equivalent for AI to say this model was trained on this or whatever.
Like you're
reading, like, you know, what we're eating here.
The whole point about we're running out of data to train it on. And so people are grabbing whatever they can. Here's Mein Kampf. Here's the best works from Adolf Hitler. Here, read what Pol Pot was thinking, you know, and stuff like that. And all that gets in there too. And people, and it's not transparent. It's just data. And then you wonder why the outputs are bizarre.
Yeah. And
you guys are proposing like a table of contents, a provenance.
Ingredients list. So transparency on training ingredients.
And beyond that, what's the creation process? Because it's the creation's the most important one. Because what data do I rely? It can be fun actually to train AI models with complete garbage to see fun stuff. I mean, maybe this is the future of humor, actually. If you think
Isn't that Grok? Isn't that Elon Musk's Grok model?
Yeah, maybe
trained on Twitter, which, you know, is pretty equivalent to garbage.
I mean, you just don't know where things are going to go. Do you remember the movie Contact, when they're, you know, and they first figure out what the pictures are in Contact, you know, Jodie Foster and everything.
Oh, that right. Yeah, got it.
And you know, they're down at the VLA. and then they put together the first images from this civilization and what is it? It was the very first ever broadcast that was done from the Earth that made it out into space, and it took all these years. What was the broadcast? It was the Berlin Olympics with Hitler. And that was the first thing that alien civilization saw from mankind, because speed of light is so slow, and it took all that time. You never know.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Well, hey, I got to do the disclaimer first, especially for what I'm going to say next. So, for those of you who are watching, please take us seriously at your own risk. We're having fun here, as you can probably tell, and that's pretty
Loads of laughs.
right. Yeah, don't be investing in Bitcoin and all that other nonsense based on anything that we say. But I do think you guys give all these AI companies way too much credit. It's quite obvious what they're doing. They are training off of one source only. The movie Her. That's it.
Totally.
That's all you need.
Totally.
Then all these things
That's
sound
their
like
MVP.
Scarlett
That's the minimum
Johansson.
viable product.
Yes,
I
yes,
got my
and it's
phone
good
in my
enough.
pocket here.
Yes, and
Scarlett Johansson's with me at all times.
yeah, and it could do the highest order of controlling any human being, which is it will make you fall in love with it.
You know, obviously there was no shortage after the. Ooh, look at you!
Whoa.
There's your
Nuclear explosion.
No idea.
Man, your ego is growing.
GPU,
I'm
the
just-
GPUs on your MacBook work. Well,
Your ego is growing, Leonard. You're shy.
But you're right. The whole internet
don't think
blew
so.
up.
But you,
The GPT 4.0
4-0.
and everything, and then you're right. You saw all the Her memes going everywhere, and then someone noticed. They go, "Did you notice the voice when they're talking? It does sound like Scarlett Johansson." And then people found clips of Sam Altman where he's making comments about Her and how it seemed silly then, but actually now it kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the hot growth areas for AI right now is for these kind of chatbots for, lonely young men, basically.
and
Yeah.
companionship.
Companionship.
guys, this make me think that maybe because we had this kind of, I wasn't that present at that time, but we had a couple of years ago all this discussion about the metaverse, and maybe metaverse.
Remember that?
Yeah, remember that?
And don't forget
So here's the point.
about-
Maybe we invented Gen AI to actually make the metaverse work because we couldn't get people in this virtual world. So we're bringing the virtual kind of things to the real world through Gen AI. So maybe that's the model. Maybe let's
Goggles needed.
Yeah.
pitch that to here's your company, Rob. Let's go pitch that to VC and get funding.
There you
Yeah.
go. Metaverse in reverse.
Yeah, make the metaverse a reality through Gen AI. Here you get the tagline.
Yeah, it's
I
the
like
AR version of it. There was the VR concept, which was silly.
Yeah, so it's
The AR one is not, and there's a lot of IoT related to it.
So it's exactly that. So the Gen AI is kind of the sneaky way to make the metaverse in the reality of the physical world.
You think it's that sneaky? I think these things just happen. But yeah, you've definitely connected a dot. Debbie Reynolds and I talked about this like 2 years ago at least, that there are two varieties, and she oftentimes fixates on the AR version, because what we're doing is we're exposing our personal information, and then there's going to become this intersect between our real selves and all these digital entities. But it's not necessarily that you're going to be living in a virtual world with and engaging in a virtual world. It's like a cyber physical melding, if you will. And so it's like the AR version. But that one is the more disturbing version. The other version is pretty creepy. The other one actually has direct, immediate physical impact, to our lives. That's the thing that is disturbing about it. And then it's hard to distinguish what's real, what's like sort of cyber versus what's physical.
It's much more.
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. It's got so weird. some of the clips,
Lord
some
of the
clips
Rings, I
people
think.
were putting out with the moment when Joaquin Phoenix is talking to Scarlett Johansson, and he finds out that she's actually has relationships with like 8,000 other people at the same time, and he's like, "Oh, how many of them are you in love with?"
Yeah.
613.
And that was before we were using the description of body count. We got it there. That's a big body count. And what Leonard is talking about of is it real is the question that the GameStop short sellers were asking about 4.5 days ago.
Oh,
Yeah, it's back.
Well, no, you remember when that scene where he goes on a picnic with his friends, and it's a human couple that he's going out with, and he has some.
I'm gonna bring my girlfriend with
like
me.
pin, yeah.
Rabbit.
See, that's the thing. They're not in a virtual world, but it's this really creepy conflation
the virtual
reality.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
That's
that's
going to be my girlfriend. Say hi to her.
Yeah. But the thing is now you can have all the I don't know if you've noticed, like you go to any of these social sites, you get bombarded with like wife finding advertisements. Here want to meet like male or a wife from Ukraine or something like that.
I don't.
But
Yeah, we're not really sure what sites you're talking about.
Yeah, and like what's happening? That did not sound like LinkedIn at all.
Wow.
I just incriminated myself. This really sucks.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm just being honest. But
That's never a good idea.
yeah, I know. Honesty never pays off. That's true.
Is that a special feature of your Vision Pro?
No, but not yet. I'm waiting for that.
Well, I mean,
By the way,
back,
are you still
back
using
in the day, you had to have game to get a girl. You
Yeah.
had to have game.
Oh, look at
I mean, you had to walk up to her
yeah.
and have game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was about your swag.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all about that. And today it's click, click, click. Got me a girl.
Yeah.
But see, and Bill, like, look, I know you're.
I got me an experience. Is really
Not only that, dude, you had to.
Dating two girls at the same time.
Dude, you had to shower, change, leave the house. If you're not in a city, get into your vehicle, drive somewhere, get to a bar, whatever, and then speak. Like actually verbalize something.
Yes.
To that's how it used to be done back in the day. Now it's
what the hell are we doing?
Dehumanization.
yeah.
De-evolution.
It's a big issue. I mean, listen to Scott Galloway and all the stuff he talks about with young men and relationships and stuff like that. And a lot of skills are being lost. I mean, the stuff that David was talking about, it's true. The human interaction skills are being lost on the next generation. And,
I mean, in college, that's what it was all about. It was like, oh, look, I'm going to get her.
Yeah.
Check me out. Bang. And you just roll over there. And I mean, it was like end of the night. How many numbers did you get? I got 15. Game over.
Bill, be careful, you're gonna get me too.
Look at all the numbers I got in my Casio calculator watch.
that's right.
But you know what? I mean, oddly, that's probably healthier than what's happening now. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is, every male on the planet does that whole dead cat scene and then starts making out with their digital assistant. I mean, come on. What's better? And, we have a population growth rate crisis, right? Especially in South Korea. It really started. You really heard about this coming out of Europe, in particular France, I think. But then it got really bad as this trend started hitting South Korea, and their birth rate is like 0.5.
Yeah. Well, part of the issue is when people start to lose those skills, then they also start to lose empathy, for other people and
they
other
can't have
societies.
relationships.
And then it's like, it kind of compounds the dehumanization, because now it's like I don't even kind of understand these other people that are in my world, right? So that's the longer term issues. I mean, there's all this interpersonal things going on, but
it's just that is we all know what reading the room is like, right? Like if we were all together and you get a reaction, you see it,
right.
But if your experience of being together is just completely digital, like that, it's you can't learn it. Because it's really hard for me to look at all of the tiles at the same time, even though I look, mostly at Marc because he's tall and handsome. But, you're not going to learn that. How do you read the room? It's tough.
I'm not even sure Marc is tall. I don't know how tall Marc is, actually.
Oh, he's ridiculous.
Like 11 feet, 14 inches.
At least.
Describing him as tall is an understatement. Right? You're gigantic. That's why he's the IoT giant. I mean, we are all his children when we stand next to him.
Explain that to the ChatGPT, right?
Right. Well, we talk about, these the demographics and declining. I don't know if you guys watch this guy on YouTube. Zehan, that guy talks about.
Oh yeah, I watch it.
China's got 10 years left. Russia's got less than that. He talks about all these countries based on demographics and birth rates and agriculture and a whole bunch of different factors, energy, oil, things like that. And he talks about, China's gone in 10 years. And people are like, what do you mean they're gone? And it's just, in a way, and he says that about Russia and actually ethnic Russians. It's almost, they're just like, it's pretty interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah, fascinating.
Just looking from demographer's standpoint.
Yeah, he's got some good stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check it out. I mean,
yeah, it's interesting.
I don't think any. Well, maybe Japan's a good example. You have an aging.
Yeah, Japan has had actually in Japan they sell more. It's kind of a little weird. They sell more adult diapers than baby diapers in Japan.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, Bill. Sorry, man. We were going to ask you. We were going to tell you we missed you on the 4th, man. 4th anniversary.
Yeah, I missed you guys too. I've been running around, man. So I'm here this week, and then I'm traveling again next week to Chattanooga. So you'll see that. I was in Louisville last week. So
yeah, that's
you're going to make that money, aren't you?
Hey man, look, nobody's going to make it for me.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
Later.
Love that.
All right, Bill.
Take care, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So last week, a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with a friend, an old friend that I had a lot of time. I didn't talk with him, and he was talking about food and sovereignty. How do you call it? Sovereignty of food for countries?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, right? How, for example, for us, avocados from Peru are cheaper than avocados that are cultivated like 100 or a few hundred kilometers from Barcelona, right? How does it make? It doesn't make any sense at all. Or like how the society is trying to convince us that we have a Mediterranean diet, that like avocado is like better than a Mediterranean diet, for example. But when it's demonstrated that, so we're talking about how we have to change the habit of
leaders of your organ.
What was that? That was
ChatGPT trying
Dimitri
to build the answer.
Yes, I'm sorry, guys. I clicked on this stupid autoplay from YouTube kicked in.
Could have been worse.
He's doing research while we're yapping away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Marc, you bring up a great point though about that, and I've read some stuff about olive oil and how expensive it's getting, because most of olive oil comes from España, and the temperatures, harvests have been down, things are burning up, and so there's not as much. And what is España? It's like 40% of all olive production in the world. And it's just rising temperatures having an impact, and so But isn't that kind of a good thing though? I mean, you guys know agriculture. It's like,
if there's certain farmers and using certain tech and certain climates are able to provide food at a high quality and a lower price, I mean, shouldn't that sort of, migrate to the folks that need it?
Well, Adam Smith, let's see.
Really?
No,
But,
I get it. In a perfect world,
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
perfect supply chain and a perfect everything, you were absolutely right.
Yeah.
But cannot
You always
do
have the
it
option to
either,
buy the local. We have the farm to table local stuff here at Met Market, and the avocados are like $4 each or whatever. Or I can buy the ones from Mexico for like $2.
Yeah, right.
You know what? You guys are bringing, I mean, Marc, you brought up a really interesting topic here on food security. And then, it's weird. I bump into a lot of people who've never heard of BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And that group, it's sort of a contending international pseudo organization that,
Like Spectre.
it's kind of like
Hydra.
Hydra. They're
AOS.
like but I mean they all have, I mean, a lot of political analysts in the West will poo-poo them, saying they don't have any shared interests, so they're like a bunch of, they're a basket case. Well, we'll see. But I think food security can become a really huge issue due to the geopolitics, because one of the key countries in this BRICS alliance,
Ukraine?
no, Brazil. Because we have to remember, like when I was working, doing consulting work for JB Swift, you got really quickly educated about how our food is sourced across the seasons, right? And we depend on the Southern Hemisphere for a lot of stuff during the winter, whether it's livestock or fruit or vegetables or whatever. And so there's this huge dependency. And I'm trying to think, what Southern Hemisphere country does the G7 have strong alliances with that can help them stem any risk to food?
Yeah,
and I can't think of
crazy example. For example,
Africa is pretty much all China.
Yeah.
Right. Middle East.
But there is a crazy example here. It's, for example, we cut the forest in Amazons in Brazil to plant soya. In Spain, we buy this Brazilian soya to feed the porks, the Iberian porks that we sell to China. Like, why? No?
Starvation is a bitch.
Yeah, the answer is very simple to why. We're going to go back to the same discussion we had a few weeks ago. The answer is profit. There's profit to be made. And the only constraint is making profit.
Right.
Yeah.
People stop eating pork, then they won't do it.
Well, that's why
Problem solved.
manufacturing continues to happen in China.
You just pay me, like, how can you say that? Like, no, man, like bacon, bellota, triple J.
We're in different worlds, David.
Okay. No, but I know, Rob and I, we live in the PNW where we get some of the tastiest, healthiest, most awesome Chinook salmon you can get.
Oh, fantastic.
But it's nuts that for me to get that local, tasty, healthy Chinook salmon, like I happen to know a couple of fishermen, and I'm like, hey, man, hook me up, I'll buy it from you. Because when I go to my grocery store, this stuff's from New Zealand. Nothing against New Zealand, for the record, but like, why? Like I can drive to the fishery,
to the harbor.
Because I think when it comes to food, it's a whole education system. So, I mean, in modern countries, we are actually bombarded by advertising on eat strawberry, eat this, eat that. We're not bombarded by local, and here is what you need in your diet to be healthy, and do your selection based on that. We're not doing that. I mean, we have this family discussion all the time. I say, no, for me, strawberries, it's in May, June, because this is the season where they are in growth in France.
Sure.
And I don't want to eat strawberries in December. I might buy one or two, but we're not educated for that. The whole system forces us to buy the product that makes the most profit. So we're back to the same thing. So if you want a food security, you have to change the thinking totally. So what do we need? Depending on the season, what do we have locally? What do we absolutely need to import?
Hey man,
But as Leonard said, this is a first world problem. I mean, where other countries don't have.
Sure,
it.
yeah, strawberries in
It's
December
great.
is definitely a first world problem.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
In the day, in the winter, we just used to eat potatoes and beets, and that was.
No, but I agree with you. But here is the problem. The problem is we have the same thing. There was a discussion in France recently about this agreement with New Zealand because France is import sheep from New Zealand, and you're like, why the heck? Okay, so this is my point is that it is
a lot of sheep in
world countries that those things happen. We import crazy things from very, very far away because we can afford them and people can make a profit. The people who live locally and have no resources, they have no choice. They eat what's there. And maybe their diet is even better if they're not starving. So it is a first world problem.
It is weird. There is so much open countryside in France that could have plenty of sheep there instead. And you're right. Anyone who's been to New Zealand, when you're flying in, like into Christchurch or one of these other cities, and you look down and it's like, what are all these white dots all over the place?
Sheep.
It's sheep.
A lot of sheep there.
A lot of sheep.
Australia.
This is an interesting topic, food security.
Australia.
And where things are coming from in this perfect supply chain. And then if that breaks down,
Well, and ideally, you're using some traceability of these goods, right? We're seeing things like RFID and little IoT and
blockchain.
I was going to say, when the hell are we going to talk about anything related to IoT related?
Yeah, I was going to say that's kind of
that was my goal to get into here. Yeah,
we have to find the problems for the.
There you go.
But how do you? Then we also have to address, the education, because if we, pick a country and let's just go 70 years, let's go to our grandparents' age, like they didn't have this heavy importation and everything was whatever is in season, that's what you're going to eat. And then because another problem is the quality of the food that's available. And we can go into, the whole GMO, non-GMO, but, like the processed food that we're eating, like it's not great. And it's this circle of like, for example, I was actually telling my kids the other day that for the second, when the United States entered the Second World War, a really good idea was to make sure that the troops had food and the food was sourced from the U.S. because
spam.
It's not going to be tainted. They need food supply. So processed food makes a lot of it's going to be good. Go for it. But then the war ends. There's no need, right, for the government to buy massive quantities of processed food because, the soldiers are coming home, but it kind of stuck.
Well, because the soldiers that came home, they liked the spam and they liked so they kept eating it. I mean, you go back to the Industrial Revolution when we switched it from an agrarian society to industrial one. People used to grow their own food, and then around 1900 or so, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not growing food anymore. I'm buying food." And so, if you look at back then, it was pretty rough. Like people would add paint to milk and all kinds of weird stuff because it was like have to buy people are buying food, and it's like, well, nothing. There's no preservatives and whatever. So it's come a long way. But we used to just grow food and eat it seasonally, and now we buy food, and it's more universal. And but finding the transparency of where it's from and all that.
You're not having a canning party over at your house, Pete, right? Hey, we're canning veggies today. We're going to take the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're going to can all these things for the next.
We grow a lot of veggies here, but it's
maybe we should do that. We should have a canning party, David.
Yeah, let's do that.
David, just so you know, Pete is also in the PNW. We should probably all get together.
Wait, how did I miss that? I thought you were like
I'm in Bellevue, Washington.
Really? How did I miss Microsoft guy? What am I thinking?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
we should have a little salmon party. Have some fun.
Salmon party and do some canning, maybe.
Eating salmon.
I apologize for excluding from my PNW comment. No disrespect, Pete.
Salmon canning. That's it.
Yeah.
You talk about the ingredients and stuff like that on the products in the future, in the fallout future that we'll have people like on a gallon of milk, they'll say, how much radiation is in the milk, how many.
Right. It'll come up on your Apple Vision Pro.
Your Apple Vision Pro.
We invented it here. There's going to be a thing called a food bomb.
Yes. Hey, but then back to IoT, which we're not doing a lot in this episode. I'm going to stick to IoT and fish. So the commercial
COM, by the way.
you know, you are once they get the fish out of the ocean and onto the boats, the way these fish are going to be transported are mostly in plastic bins and pallets. And there are huge efforts for certain companies within the supply chain to provide pallet level traceability. Because from that point, there's a lot of data that's easier to manage when you start at the source. Like I went into this ocean, I caught
this is where I
X
got it.
fish, I distributed these.
And what date it was caught on and all that good stuff. I'd love to know that.
The whole deal.
Are you talking about blockchain?
No.
You don't need blockchain.
On an Excel spreadsheet, okay? Sorry. No
Immutable Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, you know,
Read-only.
Immutable.
Read-only.
And
yeah.
This is let's copyright. Let's patent this.
let's do it. But and so anyway, I got into this whole life cycle of the pallets because once the product is delivered, the pallets behave differently. You know, some of these pallets stay at the market in question until all that fish is taken. But somewhere they are delivered into, say, an industrial freezer. These pallets have to go back and they have to be cleaned, sanitized, which is a different process. And we get into all sorts of how do we track it when I am pressure washing the bejesus out of this plastic, where I might be using chemicals to make sure that they are sanitized before they go back into the supply chain.
We have the embedded Will IoT sensor embedded in the plastic.
No, but this is why IP69 exists, right?
Well, there's also... It's coming up where they're grabbing an RFID inlay and they are literally baking the inlay, the little antenna, into the label or plastic itself.
Yeah, bake it in.
Can we agree that RFID it's not IoT?
It is.
It is.
Ah, come on.
It's
RFID, sure.
It's data acquisition, Mark. It's data acquisition. It tells me where it is, what it is, and then I can...
The scanning is wireless.
It's an IoT device.
You use a laser, right?
I'm an IoT device now. Okay.
Through the air. It's just with light, right?
I love it. You are. You are the most IoT person on the planet, so it makes sense.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Nobody's a bigger deal in IoT than you are, Marc, so that makes sense.
But you know what? You brought out a blockchain. I mean, I've always thought that blockchain had utility under and could be valuable in providing a trust infrastructure under a centralized authority. It doesn't have.
Well, there's this thing called cold chain. They use cold chain to verify the temperature of an object through its supply chains.
But then it just has that function of providing a certain degree of, well, at least a mutable data store. The governance above it is just, let's say, at a IT or systems level. It's not dictating the economy. You're not going around selling, a friggin', crypto to sustain this thing and pay the bills. That's where I think all these guys that tried to do a crypto model, actually they thought they were doing blockchain, but they were actually doing a crypto thing, and they just fell flat on their faces. And now nothing really hydrates any of these cryptos still. I went to RSA. The biggest concern is the whole criminal economy is being funded and sustained by, enabled by crypto.
Not surprising, yeah.
At this
It's
point,
the only economy that economic basis of it that you can actually say, hey, look.
Let me get back to IoT and disagree with my friend David.
No, listen. Let me give you a sample. At this point in the podcast, Mr. Leonard Lee has used the word crypto 6 times, and the price of Bitcoin right now is up 5.34%.
There you go. It's in the transcript. It's in the transcript.
No, and Microsoft will tell you the criminal economy or whatever, cyber criminal economy is the fastest growing economy on the planet. And it's just behind China. So that is the economic anchor.
It's behind China as the second biggest criminal economy.
But But this is why we were asking at the IoT Stars if we are at the right side of the of the wall or not.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. So anyway, did anybody watch Google I/O yesterday?
Yes.
I didn't.
I just saw a summary video, but it was like 3 minutes with all the cats where they were saying AI or generative AI, and it's 3 minutes.
An AI summary.
Multiple people saying AI, generative AI.
I like the DJ. The DJ was the cool part for me at the beginning, and he was making new instruments and it was composing music and he was really funny. That's the highlight for me.
Do you think music is going to change a lot thanks to this new generative AI?
There'll be a whole genre of AI generated music, and it's not it's going to be. That's where it's going to be an inexpensive way to pump out sort of medium quality music, and there'll always be a market for that. There has been since Muzak. I mean, so
yeah, actually, no, I think you could, because now you can't tell what's fake or real. But the problem is the music industry still makes, I mean, a large portion of the revenues come from concerts.
That's right.
Live tour, live.
So,
that's artist money is live.
Yeah.
This is the dream use case for the music industry. You get music without having to pay the artist at all, because there's no more artists. It's all generated.
That's right.
This is all happening, isn't it?
You just pay your Azure bill. That's all you have to pay.
Here's a good VC pitch.
Yeah. I mean, it's happening in music and art and so many.
Imagine
it's all about VCP today. Yeah.
Imagine the Taylor Swift money without Taylor Swift having to pay Taylor Swift.
But would there really be Taylor Swift songs without a Taylor Swift? That's the issue.
No, I mean, I think the big money is going to be these Scarlett Johansson, Samantha
agents,
with
personal agents with personality,
with an adult star overlay on top of it. That is going to kill it. Sorry,
I think
that is.
Don't go to the same side that Leonard does.
I am.
Hey, look. You know what? I was there in the beginning. With the search engines.
He was there at the adult
very beginning, saw what the top keywords were.
Sure, yeah, look what the top keywords are.
I'm sorry. I am not in denial.
Why did VHS take off,
Yes, I mean, I say
because of Blockbuster.
Again.
It's the number one.
And trust me, I wish Jesus Christ was number one on the top keywords list. He was not even in the top 1,000, okay? I mean,
that's disgusting. The internet is not for the people that are looking.
No, and we're trying to go out and train these AGIs with it, which just boggles my mind. But
but even more important than all this stuff, Pete and I have to pimp with a minute to go or less. Next Tuesday, we're dropping something on the internet. It's our drop.
The origin story.
Origin story. Windows Phone WTF. Origin story. Episode 1.
Episode 1.
It's dropping. It's an exclusive LinkedIn stream. 11 a.m.
Okay.
Before it gets to YouTube.
Pacific.
Exclusive.
Next Tuesday.
Part 1 of 9.
Episode 1, which is where you meet Anakin, right?
Why didn't you start at episodes 5 or 6 or 7? And
we should have started episode 0, I guess.
But... I know what you're saying, Dimitri. A New Hope. And then we'll do prequels.
Oh my God!
So, there you go. Tune into that thing.
Go through the Clone Wars. Skip that one.
I'm not going to can veggies this weekend just to see if I find a Motorola Q so I can have it.
Yeah,
that's what
you need to sit there with your Q while you're watching
your gear with you while you watch.
Yes. Absolutely, you've got to have that stuff. So this is a big deal. I mean, we put a lot of work into this.
It's a big crowd. We got about 700, 800 people in the group, and then
wow.
Yeah,
got about almost 10,000 hits in the past 24 hours on the post about the.
Yeah, and they've been kidding. We're having conversations with tech media people. All the big tech websites who cover stuff like this. That's happening, so we might get picked up in the media. And
just waiting for our cease and desist from Microsoft. That's all.
Yeah, that's how we'll know that we've won.
Too funny. All right, who wants to take us out?
By the
Who else?
before that, when I joined, you were talking about this the nuke button. No, I didn't get the context, but then you were talking about films. Did you watch the Creator film?
Oh yes, the creator. Yeah, good one.
Oh yeah, I did.
It's a mix of AI and nuke.
Yeah, I recommend
people.
that one.
That was good. I did see that.
So
Beautiful
watch it,
film.
Rob.
Was that the one with the giant ship?
Yeah, giant.
Yeah, and then the kind of the robot with.
I don't know if it was a nuke. It seemed more like a massive, rail
Lasers or
like
something.
that. Yeah, lasers or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's about the first nuke.
Yeah.
The one
Yeah.
US people say it was made
Right.
by AI.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So Marc, maybe you should take us out.
No, I think David was volunteering.
Oh yeah, David.
Okay.
We don't
All
want
right,
to
Dave.
deprive him of his duty.
Yeah, that's what I come here for. Folks, it is that time. We are out of coffee. You might be out of patience, but you've learned a lot today because we covered a whole lot from demographics, social political issues, how to plug in landline jack into the nuclear suitcase to release nuclear bombs all over the world. And you're still here. Remember, do not make any financial decisions on anything you hear about this, regardless of the Bitcoin price today or what's happening at GameStop yet again. Check that out. If you do make financial decisions and you make some dinero, make sure you donate it to elevateourkids.org. You get a tax deduction. We continue to fund this thing, and bunch of kids in underserved communities get access to the internet. We're trying to do what we can to minimize the chasm that we call the digital divide. So with that, episode is over. We thank you again for being here. Tell all your friends, family at the grocery store, at the farmer's market, and at your veggie canning parties that IoTCoffeeTalk.com exists. With that, be safe and continue to safeguard the IoT. Over and out.